Hello everyone. This video is actually a recording of the live classes that are going on, which I am taking for the PSIR comprehensive course. In this recording, you will be seeing where I am teaching the students the theory of justice as given by Plato. I hope this topic makes it extremely clear to you on how Plato theorized justice, what are the issues in his theory of justice, and other things that can be asked by the UPSC. If you want to register for the complete course, you can download my app. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you so much. Enjoy the video. Justice is an idea that philosophers, thinkers have been discussing for a very long time. We just discussed a few minutes back, as per the sophist, the idea of justice was might is right. The sophists believe that whatever the mighty person, whatever the most powerful person thinks is the right thing to do. Plato had some other idea. We will study about Aristotle later on. He had some other idea. Now, what was Plato's idea of justice? How does he define justice? First, is justice important or not? As per Plato, justice is one of the most important factors in any ideal state. If you have to make an ideal state for people to live, there should be justice in that ideal state. As per Plato, justice is an integral part of a good life. No good society can survive without justice. And that is why, in his book called The Republic, he discusses the idea of justice in many ways. As we discussed, the book has a character called Socrates. The book has many other characters: Cephalus, Polemarchus, Thrasymachus, Glaucon. Socrates is asking everyone about their idea of justice. Thrasymachus is the one who defines justice as might is right. We discussed about this, right? Everyone gives their own idea about what is justice, what is not justice. And Plato here identifies this, that in an ideal state, you have justice. In his book, there are some common features of justice that have come up after this discussion. Everyone believes justice is duty of the ruler. Whoever is ruling should provide justice to the people. Justice is a virtue, should not be used to harm someone. It cannot be based on the idea of might is right. Because if you have this might is right idea, it will lead to continuous conflict, because today someone can be more powerful than the other. Tomorrow some other person can be more powerful. So you cannot base your idea of justice on the idea that whoever is more powerful will decide justice. Because if you have this, if you give a free hand to the mighty people to decide, then the idea of justice will keep on changing. You cannot have this idea of justice that keeps on changing. You have to have a constant definition. For example, let's say today murdering someone is a crime in India. Tomorrow, if the government changes, you do not want new government to bring a law that no, murdering is not a crime, something else will be a crime. No. Justice is something that should be consistent as much as possible. No one wants to keep on having new laws. No one wants to keep on having change in the laws. Everyone wants to ensure that there is a proper definition of justice. Also, justice should lead to peace, harmony, and excellence in the society. These are the few common ideas that have emerged out of this discussion in the book that Plato has written, Republic. Now, what is justice as per Plato? Please understand, Plato's ideas are very different as compared to what you think to be practical. I've told this earlier as well. When we read about Plato, don't bring this question in your mind that how is this possible, how is this practical, because that is not what Plato is concerned with. Now, what does Plato say? Let's try and understand this. In simple terms, Plato says that a society has three types of people. Plato says society has three types of people. One is the ruling class. Second is the soldier class. And the third are others. Others can be called as traders, They can be called as farmers. As per Plato, there are three types of people in any society. One, rulers, second, soldiers, and third, traders, farmers, others. As per Plato, every person in their category should be focused on doing their job. As long as a person is doing their job in the state, that will be justice. In simple terms, in one single line, Plato says justice is functional specialization. Plato says justice is functional specialization. In other words, if you are assigned a job in the state, you should be doing that job and nothing else. As long as you are doing that, there will be justice in the society. Now, you might say it's a very weird definition, right? Because when someone says what is justice, the first thought that comes to your mind is what punishment would be given to someone if they break the law, how to prevent the people from breaking the law. That is the usual definition you get in your mind when you talk about the idea of justice. But here, Plato's idea is very different. Plato's idea is justice just means functional specialization, meaning that as long as you are following whatever function have been assigned to you, as long as you are doing that, that means you are ensuring justice in the society. Plato says, and how do we do that? And we'll discuss that later. How do we decide who is best suitable for which category? Through education. We'll discuss that in a bit. Plato says his education system is good enough to divide people into these three categories, and we'll discuss how that actually happens. Plato says, while people are very careful in choosing who their doctor will be, people are very careful in choosing even their carpenter, but while choosing their rulers, how can people believe anyone? Again, he is criticizing democracy. He's criticizing democracy by saying that when it comes to choosing your doctor, you talk to so many people and then you ask them what is right, what is wrong. You take a feedback from people. You only trust the doctor which has a good feedback, good star rating system, etc. Right? But when it comes to choosing your ruler, how can you believe anyone? That is true even today. While choosing your doctor or even choosing your holiday destination, whatever, you talk to so many people. You take feedback. You think is it the right thing to do or not. Only then you decide. On the other hand, while going to vote, you don't think about anything. While going to vote, you just think about what promises have been made to you. Anyone can make you false promises and you can just vote for them. That is the problem that Plato has. As per Plato, again, the problem is that you are choosing your rulers without taking into consideration enough facts. That is what Plato says needs to change, and that is how he basically changes it. There is one more quote that Plato has. Again, it is a previous year question by UPSC. UPSC has asked this question again multiple times. There's a famous quote by Plato. The quote is state is individual writ large. It's a very, very, very commonly asked question. Again, it's a short note question. We usually get this question in 10 marks category. 150 words is usually the word limit. State is individual writ large. Now, what do you mean by this? The idea is simple. Plato says state is made up of individuals. State is nothing but an accumulation or a group of individuals, meaning that if you want to bring about a change in the state, you have to bring about a change in the individual. As simple as that. State is made up of individuals and the state is a reflection of its own citizens. He famously says, like men, like state. This is how you answer this quote. Do remember this, try and understand this. He explains, unless we change human nature, unless we create good human nature, we will not be able to create good state. A good state means a state which has the best possible human beings, as simple as that. So, in order to create justice at the level of the government, at the level of the state, we first need to ensure that there are good human beings with good nature. That is what he means by state is individual writ large. Means state is nothing but a big form of individuals. You collect many individuals, keep them together, it becomes a state automatically. So whatever you have to change in the state, first bring the change in the individuals. Now, how do you kind of apply that into today's real life? Let's take this example. You might have seen this in many of these rankings of best countries, low corruption countries, etc. Many of these rankings, you will see always countries such as Sweden, Norway coming at the very top, Switzerland, right? We see these countries coming at the top, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, etc. And whenever we see these kind of rankings, we always wonder why is it that these countries are always at the top, right? You might also wonder why is it that these countries always keep coming at the top? What is wrong with us or what is right with them? The idea is nothing but citizens. The idea is nothing but citizens. When you talk about a country such as Norway, Sweden, Iceland, Switzerland, you're talking about countries where people are not afraid of paying taxes. People pay heavy taxes, they don't try and run away with taxes. I'll tell you one more example. In Japan, do you know in Japan, it is almost impossible to find a dustbin in a public place. If you're in a public place, in a market, anywhere, metro station, wherever you are, it is almost impossible to find a dustbin. Why? Because the people are expected that, let's say, if you're eating something, there's a wrapper after that. You are expected to keep the wrapper with you in your bag, in your pocket. Once you go home, then put it in the dustbin. No dustbin available means no overflow. That is how the societies are built. So when you think that, oh, Tokyo is so clean or a country is so clean, that is not because the country, it is because the citizens. That is what is meant when Plato says state is individual writ large. Now, the reason I'm giving you these examples is because the examiner will always appreciate if you can connect an old topic to something that is contemporary. See, as an examiner, when I'm checking the copy of a student who has written this answer to state as individual writ large, if I only see the thoughts of Plato written, I will be bored. I will not. I will give you marks, but not great marks. I'll give everyone average marks. But when I see someone trying to make a connection, as the example that I gave you, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, the taxpayers, the Tokyo example that I gave you, when I see someone trying to get this to connect with the contemporary world, trying to give this example, that will also kind of push me to give you better marks. So even in theory based questions, a mistake that people commit is in IR questions in dynamic part, we all give examples. We think that yes, this is the only place where we can give examples. But in theory part, we usually don't give examples, we don't give any contemporary knowledge, we don't connect it to contemporary ideas. We think I'll just write the same line and I'll get the marks. But even here, if you can, if it is possible, if it is actually relatable, if you can connect it to something that is happening in real life, it will give you an edge in the answer writing. So make sure in these kind of cases as well, you can give certain examples. So he says the same principle that provides justice at the individual level would provide justice at the level of the state as well. That is his entire idea of state is individual writ large. State is nothing but a large form of citizens. State is nothing but a collective of citizens. The better the citizens are, the better the state will be. The problems that we have in citizens, we will have the same problems in the state as well. Now, the idea of justice that he gave, as I told you earlier, As per Plato, there are three types of people in the society. All three people have different kind of behaviors. First, those who have the most desire and the most appetite. Desire, appetite means basically you can call them greedy, you can call them, let's say, attractive to money. These are the people who have the most desire. As per Plato, they are his traders or farmer class. The one word that he gives is producing class or producers. Then Plato says the second kind of people that we have in the society are those that have the most passion, most emotion, most spirit. They want to do something great. They are not afraid of putting their lives on the line. These are the people who actually are soldiers. Then the people who love knowledge, who have reasoning, who can look beyond what is just shown to them, who can look at the reality. These will be the ruling class. Please do remember this. This is a very, very, very important concept from Plato, that in a society, there are three types of people or there are three types of individuals. First, desire. First, people who desire a lot. Second are people who show the most emotions. And third are the people who show the most knowledge, who show the most reason. They are the ones that actually make our society. This is what they are called. First are called a trader class, have the most dominant desire. Second, soldier class, they have the most emotions, spirit, they're attracted to honor, power, and pride. Third is the philosopher class, they are people who love knowledge, they are not attracted to wisdom or not attracted to wealth or power. These are the ones who are ideal to rule. Only the people who are in the philosopher class, only the people are in love with knowledge, they are the ones who should be given the power to rule. Guys, I just wanted to confirm, were you able to download the PDF from the app? Since this is the first class, I want to make sure everything is working properly. I had uploaded the PDF in the app. Were you able to download that, or did you not try? Just confirm in the chat once. Did you, if you tried, were you able to download the PDF? I will upload the annotated version as well. Okay, Prabhat was able to do that. Great, thank you. I will upload the annotated version also once the class ends. So you'll download that also. Tanmay haven't tried. Okay, Tanmay, you can try. I think Prabhat was able to do that. So I think others would be able to. Okay, okay. I think you should be able to. So I had uploaded before the class itself the raw version of the PPT that you're seeing here. And not able to download, could open in the app, didn't try. Okay, no problem. If you did not try, you can try it after the class, or after the class, as I said, I will upload the annotated version of this. Annotated means with the pen marks and all, so you can download that itself. And in case, I'm just making sure of that all the things are working, because this is our first class, I want to make sure platform is working fine for you. So in case you have any issue with downloading it, in case you are not able to download that, do let me know. I'll fix that, and if there's any issue, I'll send it to you directly or whatever, but we'll make sure everything is working. Okay. As I said earlier, I'll repeat that once again. The recorded version of the class is usually available after 24 to 48 hours. So that is not done before that. So if you want to see a recorded version, that will be after 1 to 2 days. So do make sure. Apart from that, any other issue in downloading, etc., do let me know, and we'll try and fix that as soon as possible. Hopefully, there will not be any issue. Anyway, so let's go ahead. So as I said, Plato's ideal society, or Plato's ideal state rather, was a state which had three types of people. First, the rulers will be the rulers, they will take the most important decisions, then the military class, and then the farmers, producers, etc. These are the three types of people. Now, as per Plato, people should stick to what their job is. For example, if someone is from the soldier class, then that person should only, in his entire life, should only remain a soldier. If you are from the ruling class, for your entire life, that is the one duty that you have been given. If, let's say, you are a farmer, then the entire life, that is your duty. Now, there is a problem in that. There are many, many problems with that, in fact. What are the issues here? First big issue: what if there are other people? What if there are other categories? For example, doctors, engineers, teachers. In what category will you fit? Will you fit them? How will they come? In which category? Second problem that we have here is, what if a person is good in two jobs? Means, what if a soldier is also good in farming? What if a farmer is also good in defense and training, etc.? You are not leaving any scope for one person to jump to something else. Then the third person, or the third issue: how do you categorize with 100% efficiency? Means, how are you 100% sure that this person will go on to become a soldier only? How are you so sure that this person will only become a ruler? Maybe he or she wants to do something else. Next issue: no option to change occupation. Once a ruler will always be a ruler. Once a soldier will always be a soldier. All these are issues. Now, again, please understand. I'll repeat this every single time because this is important. Please do remember, whatever Plato suggested was ideas in his book. These are not things that were actually implemented. He wanted to implement that, but that could never come to that stage. So we never went to the stage of implementation. It was always still the idea that I am implementing this idea, I'm trying to implement this, but these are only ideas. So don't judge them from the point of view of whether they are implementable, whether they are practical or not. One more thing: the UPSC has a very unique habit of asking questions of comparing two people, and two people which you might think are not comparable. I'll give you an example. Later on, when we are reading about Plato only, we will read about comparison between Plato and Karl Marx, because both Plato and Karl Marx had suggested some form of communism, although their communism is very different from each other. Similarly, there are also some parallels between Plato and, for example, the Varna system. Doesn't it seem very similar to our Varna system that you read in ancient history? That the Hindu society is divided into the four Varnas. Depending upon your birth, you will be assigned a certain job. Based on that, that will be your entire job and you cannot change that. Doesn't it look similar to that? Like Brahmins have a specific job to indulge in rituals, to educate the people. Then the Kshatriyas would have a different job. Now, all these are very similar, as I said, to our Varna system, but there's a big difference. Can you tell me the difference between our ancient India's Varna system and this Plato's idea of people having different jobs? Can you tell me any difference between the two? Any difference between what Plato had suggested and what we see in our Varna system? Or are they exactly the same? What do you think? What is the key basic difference? Yes, Prabhat. Okay. Anyone else? The question is very simple. What Plato suggested seems very similar to what our Varna system was. However, there is a key difference between the two. Yes, Tanmay. Okay. So most of you got it right. The idea basically is Varna system was on the basis of birth and hereditary. Means the son or the daughter of a Brahmin will be a Brahmin only, right? That was a Varna system. With Plato, that was not the idea. The idea of Plato was that whoever is born will be born as equal, then they will all be given some form of education, and we will discuss about the education system. All of them will be given some form of education based on their performance in the education system. They will be given certain categories. So if you excel in the education system to such an extent that you keep on passing the test, then you end up being in the philosopher class. On the other hand, if you are the weakest link in the education system, you could not pass in the first test, then you join the producing class. Somewhere in the middle will be the soldier class. If you are the king, your son does not have to become a king, or your son necessarily will not become a king if you are talking about the Plato system. Plato's system was that whoever is the king or the soldier, doesn't really matter. Their newborn, their son, their daughter will not even know who their parents are. So there's no idea of hereditary or birth. While the Varna system, on the other hand, was based on the idea of birth, was based on the idea of hereditary passing on the same features. So do remember that. As per Plato, the philosopher who is sitting at the very top is a person who who has devoted his entire life to knowledge. That person will be the one who will be fit for being the ideal king. Now, Plato has given a very interesting thought. The thought is, who is the best ruler? The best ruler is someone who does not want to rule. Please understand this. As per Plato, best ruler is someone who doesn't want to rule. So he says only the person who does not want the power, only the person who does not want all these benefits that come with being a ruler, that person will be the best possible person to rule over the society. He says that the philosopher king, because of all this education, because of all this teaching, will be enlightened to such a large extent that that person will not be interested in any kind of power, will not be interested in any kind of money. That person will not want to rule, and that will be the best possible characteristic of any ruler. Anyone who wants to rule should not be allowed to rule. That is what Plato had said. Anyone who wants to rule can never be a good ruler. Only the people who do not want to rule can be good people. That is what Plato had suggested. This is a very, very famous quote by Plato. Again, it is asked in the UPSC papers. So it's again a UPSC PSIR question. Not the entire quote. So basically, the quote that usually UPSC will ask is from here to here. Plato very famously gave this quote: until philosophers are kings, or kings of the world who have spirit or power of philosophy, the political greatness and wisdom meet in one, and those. So basically the idea is, in simple, this quote can be cut short into: until philosophers become kings or kings become philosophers, the nation will not be great. Something like this. I'll repeat this. Plato in short said, until the philosophers become kings or kings become philosophers, we will not have a great state. Let me write it down. Until philosophers become kings or kings become philosophers. we won't create an ideal state. Now, when you say the word philosopher, the idea behind the word philosopher by Plato is highly educated. That is the idea behind the word philosopher. So, philosopher is someone who has studied a lot, who has a lot of education, who understands a lot of stuff. That is a philosopher. So, until the philosophers become kings or kings become philosophers, we won't have an ideal state. So, either someone who's already ruling should have or should gain a lot of information, should gain a lot of knowledge, or someone who already has a lot of knowledge should come and become the ruler. That, as per Plato, is the ideal way forward. This is how Plato defines justice. Again, justice results when each class in the society is doing their appropriate task, doing it well, and doing it only means not dabbling in someone else's job. Ruler should not tell the farmer how to undertake agriculture. Farmer should not tell the soldier how to defend the state. Soldier should not tell the ruler how to make decisions. In an ideal state, control of the government should remain with a small group of philosopher kings who are given supreme knowledge or reason. Defense sector or the defense class will defend the state, while the farmers will produce for the entire society. That is how the division will be. This is another important phrase by a philosopher called Durant. Now, understand one more thing. See, one of the interesting parts about UPSC is, let's say if Plato is a topic in your syllabus, the questions will not only be about what Plato said. The questions can also be about what other people said about Plato. I hope you understand. If, for example, let's say Plato said something, that doesn't mean that only that will be asked. What other people said about Plato, if there's an important phrase about Plato, that can also be asked. For example, William Durant, that you see here, is a very famous American historian, American philosopher. He wrote a very famous book called The Story of Civilization. So he was the author of this book called The Story of Civilization. He was an American philosopher, American historian. He said this: in Plato's perfect state, the industrial forces would produce but not rule. Military forces will protect but not rule. Forces of knowledge in science and philosophy would be nourished to protect it and they would rule. So, for example, UPSC can just give you this particular statement and they will ask you to comment. So, in this case, what you'll have to do, you'll have to explain how Plato divided the society into three divisions, how, according to him, every perfect or every class in the society has a specific job to do. If they are sticking to that job only, that will be justice. And that is how Plato defines justice as functional specialization. Something like this can be your answer. So, again, do remember names of these kind of people as well. It's important. Don't just remember what Plato said, also remember what people said about Plato. And that is why at the end of most of the topics, I will try to give you important quotes about those thinkers as well. We'll include important quotes in between the presentation as well as we are doing here. But at the end of it also, we'll try and have some important quotations about them so that if you get questions about them, you are familiar with what exactly